All right, let's jump right into this explainer. We're breaking down the highly anticipated June 15th, 2026 ADA distribution report for the Hoskilien community. If you've been watching the broader crypto space lately, finding actual, measurable success can kind of feel like looking for a needle in a haystack, right? Well, that's exactly why we're digging into this today. We're going to unpack the raw numbers, track exactly where the yields are flowing, and look under the hood of this ecosystem. This isn't just about reading a spreadsheet, it's about understanding how a community actually builds an engine for generating yield. So whether you hold units, run a node, or you're just a massive nerd for decentralized reward structures like us, you are definitely going to want to stick around for this. Now, to get a sense of where this community's head is at, just take a look here. This imagery perfectly captures the vibe, doesn't it? It's bold, relaxed, and totally unbothered. Set against that super bright, undeniably yellow background, this avatar with the dark shades and the beard, it just projects this very specific, cool confidence. And in Web3, branding isn't just fluff. It's a visual read on community sentiment. It tells us we're looking at a group that honestly feels insulated from the panic we're seeing in the wider market right now. They're laser focused on their own roadmap and their own internal economy. Keep that relaxed attitude in mind because the numbers we're about to hit, they explain exactly where that confidence is coming from.
Because man, their stance is incredibly defiant. This line right here is straight from the report. With ADA dropping, we keep winning. Talk about a statement of intent. The authors aren't burying their heads in the sand about the macroeconomic reality. They're fully acknowledging that ADA, their native Layer 1 asset, is taking a hit in price. But instead of letting the market dictate their success, they're basically using their own internal mechanisms as a shield. Another successful month on our belt. That right there is the whole thesis of this Hoskilien explainer. It's the idea that a tightly structured microeconomy can just keep pulling in wins even when the macro picture looks rough.
And here's the ultimate scoreboard for that success. Over 22,000 ADA distributed to the community in a single month. Literally 22,472 ADA. When they say they're winning, this is the proof. We really need to pause and appreciate what this represents. We're not talking about some theoretical value or lock liquidity or, promises of speculative tokens down the road. This is hard, distributed ADA flowing right back into the hands of participants. For any community to generate that kind of primary currency volume during a market downtrend, that is exactly why this report is such a big deal. But as always, the headline number is only half the story. The real secret sauce is how that 22,000 plus ADA actually gets sliced up. Because let me tell you, it is absolutely not a 50-50 split. Not even close. It's heavily weighted toward one specific type of participation. Think of it like two main arteries pumping through the ecosystem. That massive slice, the absolute vast majority of the pie, is going straight to the unit holder rewards. Then you have this much smaller, but mathematically super precise portion dedicated to the HSKN token rewards. This instantly gives away the economic priority of the Hoskilien ecosystem right now. To really get how this machine works, we've got to zoom in on both of these buckets. All right, let's start with the big one. We're looking at nearly 20,000 ADA dedicated entirely to the unit holder rewards, 19,541 to be exact. This is the undisputed powerhouse of the June 15th distribution. Out of the entire pot, the lion's share is funneling directly into this specific category. What does that tell us? It tells us that units are the bedrock. They are the foundation of the Hoskilien reward structure, purposely built to drive maximum value straight back to whoever holds them. But, throwing around a massive number like 20,000 ADA can sometimes be a little abstract. What does that actually look like for a single user checking their wallet? Well, for an individual unit holder, that giant pool boils down to approximately 8 ADA per unit. And that's the micro-level benchmark that actually matters, right? It lets you easily calculate your own personal yield based on exactly what you're holding. It sets a really clear, undeniable standard for how they're performing month over month. It's clean, it's easy to grasp, and it proves the ecosystem's math actually holds up all the way down to the individual wallet. Okay, let's flip over to the other side of the ecosystem. Here we've got the HSKN rewards pulling in just under 3,000 ADA. So yeah, 2,931.24. Obviously, it's a smaller pool than the unit holders, but make no mistake, that is still a very significant chunk of generated yield. This proves Hoskilien is running a truly multi-layered ecosystem. You've got the unit holders acting as this heavy, solid foundation, but then this secondary layer tied to the HSKN ticker introduces a totally different dynamic. And what's super fascinating here is that this pool isn't just a random airdrop. It is actively generated by a highly structured network of nodes doing the heavy lifting behind the scenes. Let's pull back the curtain and peek into the engine room. Check this out. This yield isn't magic, it is pure infrastructure. What we're looking at is a transparent breakdown of the active node network. You've got larger clusters of Spark Air nodes handling the bulk of the volume. They're basically the heavy lifters. And then it scales down to solitary Link and Ember nodes, all operating on their own unique reward splits. This is the actual hardware and software architecture churning out the yield. We're not talking about some arbitrary token generation. This is a highly functional, segmented network with really precise math behind its allocations. But again, let's bring it back to you. How does all this complex back-end node plumbing translate to the average token holder?
It all distills down to one beautifully clean metric: 3.92 ADA distributed for every 1 million HSKN. I love this because it's just such an elegant way to let token holders figure out exactly where they stand without having to wade through a swamp of back-end percentages. For every million tokens in your wallet, your exact slice of those node-generated rewards is totally defined. It perfectly bridges the gap between, a highly complex technical infrastructure and simple, tangible benefits for the end user.
So, as we wrap up this explainer, we're right back where we started, looking at a community that is proudly declaring they are winning, while the broader ADA market is, well, dropping. And we've just seen the receipts, right? We've seen exactly how they back that up. A massive payout of over 22,000 ADA, a wildly rewarding structure for their unit holders, and a fully transparent, actively yielding node network for the token holders. They've effectively built their own internal weather system that's currently shrugging off the external storm. So the ultimate question I want to leave you with is this: how does this kind of defiance position the Hoskilien community for the future? I mean, if they can crank out these kinds of numbers in a tough market, what on earth is going to happen when the macro conditions inevitably turn around? It's a seriously fascinating case study in decentralized economic design, and absolutely a space we're going to keep a very close eye on.